Welcome to Truth for Our Time with your host, Tamara Scott.
And good day. Thank you so much for joining us on Truth for Our Time. I am Tamara Scott, and I take it very honorably that you spend your time with us, whether it's Wednesdays 10 a.m. at noon or 10 a.m. In the morning with the webcast. Those of you who want to view it, see the speakers who join us either by Skype or by phone. Those of you who want to call in during that time, or those of you who are listening at noon on Sundays. Appreciate either way you're spending time with us. We give you truth for our time, helping you live God's word in today's world, because when the headlines hit home, we want to help you. And if God expects you to live through it, He's directed you how to do it. So we help you when those headlines hit home. Oftentimes it may be something political, it may be something cultural in your community, in your state, in your nation. We give you that information. Oftentimes it's something you're not going to hear in the mainstream media, oddly enough. So always giving you the perspective from God's word, and just reminding you, in this very busy role that we have, this very busy world that we live, you have a comforter, an advocate, one waiting to help if you'll call on His name and ask Him how. And the guests that we have today are going to be a little bit different than what we usually go with. Though I am National Committee woman for the Republican Party, that role is separate from my radio show role, though we've discussed in the past how those work together. Those seemingly roles work separately, but together, and make even stronger on both levels, and can bring guests and issues to you and help the party, help the public, help the country, help you as family members. So it works well. But today, I am actually going to have two political folks on here. Senator Mark Chelgren, Iowa Senator, will be joining us shortly. He is running in the congressional district, just made an announcement last night in Iowa City. We'll be talking with him. And Janet Huckabee herself, though she is not political, she is married to someone who is, and you recognize the name, Governor Mike Huckabee. So we'll be talking with Janet a little bit as well. I will also say, we don't do any endorsements on this show, never have. So anyone who would like to have equal time, you're welcome. And I will ask you whatever questions I feel like God leads me to ask during that time. So you're welcome, but be prepared, do your homework. So I also need to thank our sponsors. Webcast One Live, we're always grateful to use the studios here. They're just beautiful. I don't know where you work, but if you get to enjoy your job and you love where you work, how about that? What a blessing. Is it Confucius? Not that we often quote Confucius, and I'm not sure who it is, that says if you love your work, you'll never work a day in your life. How true it is. What a beautiful studio we have here with Webcast One Live and with Truth Network 99.3. We thank both Webcast One Live and 99.3 for carrying the show and working with us, and as well Crave, Christians Reviving American Values Every Day, ChristiansForAmerica.com. ChristiansForAmerica.com. If you want to help us with the show, you can always talk to them, send money to them. They partner along with us, and they are a 501c3, and so that would be a deductible gift if that's something that you feel led to do. I don't push people on that. I don't go out and actively search for that. A couple of headlines I do want to talk to you about. Of course, last week we talked about the life issue so much with the continuing resolution, and also with the HR 3495. The continuing resolution, we know there was confusion on that bill. Some of our Iowa delegation voted for it, some voted against it. Some are saying that those who voted against it was that they didn't want to explain it to their members. It was easier just to vote against it, that it really didn't stop any funding from going to Planned Parenthood. Others are saying that may be technically true, but not quite true, because though it wasn't just a moratorium on Medicaid funds, which would have been the best deal yet, it still had a separate resolution, or not a resolution, but what they call an addendum. I'm not going to think of the name that they put on it with it. It wasn't just an amendment, but it was a separate notation that they were going to defund Planned Parenthood. And others who didn't vote for it are saying, in protection of themselves probably, or in a defense that they find justifiable, that those who voted for it knew full well that it was going to be stripped in the Senate, that it would be stripped in the Senate, and not then carried forward. So as confusing as this is, I'm trying to break it down for you. This is the problem. It's never just black and white. It's never just so simple. And what I do believe in Iowa is that we are very blessed to have some great congressional members and great senators who are trying to do what they believe is best, that do support life and that are trying to make a difference. Of course, we have our own battle right here in our own state. Iowa has not yet severed ties. Medicaid monies from the federal government is going through to Planned Parenthood, and others will tell you that there's a match on that. And maybe we'll talk to Chelgren about that when he comes on, Senator Chelgren, that there is a match with Medicaid monies that do go to Planned Parenthood. And as we've shared on this show, if there is an open investigation, there's a court case that gives precedent to pulling funds back from Medicaid. As long as there's an open investigation, you don't even have to have a verdict, a guilty finding. Just an investigation is enough to pull state tax dollars or federal tax dollars, Medicaid dollars, away from an organization, an entity. So that is very possible that could be done in Iowa, since there's an open investigation since 2011 with Susan Thayer, who was a former worker with Planned Parenthood, and filed lawsuit with them that is moving forward in the 8th Circuit, that they were committing fraud through Medicaid, overcharging, duplicating charges, etc. So Iowa certainly could. And we have a governor who has promised to do so, talked about it in his campaign speech in 2010. And I believe, since we have the longest serving governor in our state who is pro-life, with his approval rating, with his experience and political capital, when he decides to do so, I believe he can find a way to do so. And so I'll give him credit for that when he is ready to do it. I think he is fully capable and able, no matter how confusing and complicated it may be. But this very quick thing I just want to say to you. Western Journalism is the website I went to. I got a little bleep. You know how you get those bleeps coming across your screen. And this one was talking about the fastest growing language in America. And it said it won't be what you think it is. So I tried to find the website that would be the least, right-leaning, or that would maybe be even a different perspective of the little blurb that I read. This one is from westernjournalism.com. And it's talking about their newly released data from the census of 2014, the Center of Immigration Studies, and their report. The number of residents, 1 in 5 residents, 63.2 million people in the United States speak a language other than English at home. The largest numerical increases from 2010 to 14 were among the speakers, and you're going to guess Spanish, right? Chinese, and it was up 2.3 million. Chinese, 331,000. Arabic, 252,000. Tagalog, which is a Filipino language, up 115,000. Hindu, up 114,000. Urdu, up 89,000. The largest percentage increase from 2010 to 14 were among speakers of, this will surprise you, Arabic, up 29%. Urdu is second with 23%. Urdu is URDU. Hindu is up 19%. Chinese and Hmong, both up 12%. And I looked up the pronunciation of this earlier. Jugarity. I looked it up earlier. I should have put it out. My my phonetic spelling out there. Guarati. I'm thinking too hard on this. And Persian are both up 9%. They are a language of India. But Arabic is your largest increase, up 29%. Think that through. Think that through. You've Ben Carson, a presidential candidate, talking about can a Muslim be president? And again, as we said on this show, there is no litmus test on religion, but there is a litmus test on the oath of office and upholding the Constitution. It is already 9 past the hour. I am going to welcome Senator Mark Chelgren. Mark Chelgren is the state senator in Senate District 41 in the south, maybe southwestern portion of the state. Ottumwa would be one of those cities. He has served in the Iowa Senate and been one of those who you could trust to stand and speak his mind, no matter what the party lines were. Vote for good bills, vote against bad bills, no matter what the party lines were. Mark Chelgren, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you, Tamara. I'm pleased to be here with you. By the way, Ottumwa is in the southeast quadrant of the state.
That's where southeast quadrant. And When I drive all over, I just kind of end up where I'm at and can't always remember where I'm headed.
I understand.
So who else is in your district?
As far as, for
in
my
your Senate district.
I represent Ottumwa, which is Wapello County. I represent Fairfield, which is Jefferson County. I represent Bloomfield and Davis County, and then I also represent Van Buren County, which includes Keosauqua.
You have a pretty diverse district there.
I do.
Are you the first Republican elected there?
When I first ran, of course, we've had redistricting since then. When I first ran, I also represented Wayne County and Appanoose County, and I was the first Republican in 28 years to be elected to anything.
So now you have an announcement to make. Would you like to tell our listeners?
That'd be great. I did announce officially yesterday, and I'll repeat the announcement. I've made the decision, along with a lot of prayer and counseling from my wife, as far as what the right thing to do would be. I am running for Congress. I'm running against Dave Loebsack in Iowa Congressional District 2. I think it's the right thing to do. I think that there are important things in the world happening, important things for this country, and I really want to see a change in the way that Congress behaves. And quite honestly, I just don't trust anyone else to do it, and so I'm willing to step forward and bring the battle to Washington, D.C.
How many years have you served in the state Senate?
I've served 5 years, so I will. This January will start my sixth year in the state Senate, and I did get reelected into a district that once again had never had a Republican reelected for anything either, and so I feel like I have crossed party lines with regards to the electorate, because there's a lot of Democrats in my district who know me. They trust that I'll do what I say. They may not agree with what I do, but they know that I do it for good reason. I have a passion to protect this state and protect this country, and they recognize it. And I think that kind of passion and that kind of consistent honesty with the electorate crosses party lines.
So my introduction of you was fairly accurate, spot on then, wasn't it?
Well, I appreciate it. It was a wonderful introduction. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I think what you're hitting on and what we're seeing in this election, it's people, there are a few who are tied to the brand of a party, but there are many in the middle who are not, who are looking for someone they can trust, whether they do agree all the time or not, someone who gives them their word, they know where they're at on an issue, and they can decide for themselves which issues are their priority as to who they will support.
Well, and I think this is for me. I had never really thought of myself as a Republican or a Democrat. I'd always just considered myself somebody who loved my country, as a good American. I would say that when it comes to the issues, I am generally very conservative. And so those things were just innately part of who I am. But I've also been the kind of person who believes strongly that when you do something, you follow the rules. Whether you're in a position of power or you're not in a position of power, the process matters. The end does not justify the means. So to me, when I hear people say, well, we just need to do this in order to attain power to therefore be good people, I'm like, no. If your process to gain the power, you have to compromise your morals, your principles, you don't deserve the power. And I think that's something that I think both parties need to listen to. Now, I will tell you that in my experience in Des Moines working with Republicans, a vast majority of Republicans are good people. They care about the state, they care about their country, and they try to do it the right way. There are some that, you listen to them and you talk to them and you just kind of shake your head. You're like, well, they clearly don't get it. And I would say that's only maybe 20% of the Republican Party I feel that way about. When I talk to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, the Democrats, it's pushing 90%. I mean, that's the frustration I have. And that's because I'll hear somebody say, I'm a pro-life Democrat, or I am a pro-Second Amendment Democrat. And then you ask them questions specifically about it, say, well, but my party won't let me actually vote that way. If you're not willing to vote your conscience, what you claim to believe, you're not really that person. I would much rather judge somebody on their actions than on their words, because in our culture, too many people think that their words don't matter. And I do believe that when you give somebody your word, it's the same thing as a contract or handshake or an oath.
And that could be why you do so well in a mixed district. We're going to have to go to break here, but will you stay with us and continue to talk about the issues when we come back?
I'd love to. Thank you.
Mark Chelgren is my guest. He's a state senator in District 41 here in Iowa, now running for congressional district in the 2nd congressional district in Iowa. We'll be right back after these messages. I hope you'll stay tuned with us as we help you live God's Word in today's world.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back to Truth for Our Time with your host, Tamara Scott.
All right. I have State Senator Mark Chelgren on the phone. Senate District 41 announced yesterday that he is running for Congress. He is running for the U.S. Congress in Congressional District 2 in Iowa. Right now, it's currently held by David Loebsack. David Loebsack is a very nice man. I have spoken to him. I've lobbied him on the Israel issue, the Iran deal. Nice man that he is. He isn't always with us on the issues, and though I care for his staff, very kind people, good people to work with, very good to respond, always quickly responding. This Iran deal would like to have leadership that is there, that gets it, that will protect America and the country. So I'm going to ask you right out of the chute, and Mark Chelgren, let me say this to our listeners. I asked Mark, I don't want to pin you, I don't want to put you in a position, and he said, ask me anything you want. I'm ready. How about that? How refreshing. And last night he spoke in Scott County with Republicans all across this front table, head table, and he said, I will hold the line and hold everyone accountable, whether they're Republican or Democrat. How brave. And I appreciated those comments. Thank you, Mark Chelgren. So why are you running against this nice guy? And where would you be on the Iran deal?
Well, first of all, let me tell you that somebody who's nice is irrelevant. It comes down to integrity. I want somebody I can trust. I want somebody I can respect. And most nice people will tell you what you want to hear. I am definitely not, in my opinion, considered to be nice in that aspect of it. I don't believe in political correctness. At least I don't believe we should have political correctness. I know there's been comments about me being a bull in a china shop in the state of Iowa. I know that there's other presidential candidates that people have made similar comments about. And what I would respond to that is, we shouldn't be offended by the bull in the china shop. We should be offended that we created a china shop. That, when we talk about our First Amendment rights, we have the right to discourse, we have the right to conversation, we have the right to speak the truth. And I think that when people say that they're offended by the truth, then they have a problem. Same thing comes down when you talk about somebody who's a nice guy. I don't want someone who's going to tell me what they think I want to hear. I want someone who's going to tell me accurately what the truth is. And we need more people like that in Washington, D.C. And I don't think I do think my opponent's a nice guy, but I don't think he has that kind of courage to stand up against his party and or stand up against a lobbyist or stand up against anybody who has influence. He just wants to get along to go along, and that's not my behavior.
And you're right. When I look back through history, the leaders who made a difference, the Winston Churchills, did not have all kinds of friends. I think he was voted out at one point. Margaret Thatcher, made her enemies through some of the things that she said, had people who disagreed with her. Ronald Reagan was told, please do not say, Mr. Gorbachev, take down this wall. He did it anyway.
That's right.
And we're thankful he did.
When you stand on principle, you're always going to have people who are frustrated because they're going to either be jealous or they're going to feel like it's not the right time or that you're risking something. Great things come from risk, and you have to be smart enough and courageous enough to take the risks in order to get the benefits. So
Iran deal, where would you be?
Oh, I'm a hard no on the Iran deal. There's a lot of reasons for it. First of all, it's ridiculous that we would reward a country that continually, calls the United States the Great Satan. Barack Obama said very clearly, we're not a Christian country. Iran believes we are. They hate us for that. They hate us for the fact that we were founded by Christian morals, Christian values, and that we maintain those till today. They want to make sure that this country no longer has the political influence around the world to support countries like Israel. They want to change us into an Islamic country. They want to change everyone into an Islamic country for that matter. But they especially despise that America is still a shining beacon on the mountain, on the hill, and that frustrates them. And so we are a target of theirs. The fact that we would empower them to do damage to our values and our country is ridiculous. And I think it's very unfortunate that this president, for his legacy, has risked those things.
It's not only ridiculous, it's reckless. And you were talking about our right. I would tell you it's our responsibility. When you get to Congress, it's our responsibility to stand strong on those things. It's our responsibility to have that discourse here at home and have that discussion that we need to have on these issues. So I thank you for being upfront about that. I know you disagreed with me on something I said earlier about Congress. It's not being black and white. And it's so confusing right now. It seems like they plug all kinds of things onto a bill. It's never just an up-down vote.
Well, let me give you an example. So, because you did say it was black, or that it's not always black and white, and technically you're correct, but it should be black and white. What's happened is Congress, in order to make excuses for their behavior, when you are elected as a congressman or a senator, you swear an oath to the Constitution. The Constitution defines exactly what your job responsibilities are, and so when your job responsibility is to pass a bill through that chamber with 51 votes, and you arbitrarily put a 60-vote threshold on there, then you are basically cluttering it. You're changing it from a black and white issue, and now you're making an excuse on why you're not doing your job. I don't care if the President of the United States threatens to veto a bill. I don't care if the other chamber threatens to change a bill. You should put the best bill forward that and follow your conscience on doing what's right every single time. And if they change it or they veto it, so be it. Then you work from there. But it's amazing that the president of this country will threaten Congress, and they will capitulate every time, and yet he threatens an enemy of this country, and we capitulate as a country. That, to me, it is completely backwards on the way things should happen. Each branch of government is responsible for enforcing their part of the Constitution, and if they fail to do so, then they are not doing their jobs.
That, my friend, is why we hate to see you leave the Iowa Senate for any reason, and only to see you go to Congress. Would that make us happy or okay with that idea?
Well, I am looking forward to the state of Iowa being a Republican-run state. And I'll tell you that I say that not because I am a huge fan of the Republican Party, but because I recognize the reckless behavior of the Democrat Party. I want to have strong individuals from the state, either independents or conservatives in general, holding Republicans accountable. It's one thing to say, hey, we tried, the other party won't let us do it. But when you have the control of the House and the Senate and of the president, or in this case, the governor's office, you have no excuse not to make proactive actions. And I look forward to the Republicans being put in that position and then being held accountable to make sure that they follow through with the commitments they've made.
And again, I think that's why you're going to do well in this district that you have. It is an interesting and a diverse district, and I think that someone like yourself who can resonate on the issues. Tell us a little bit, who was Mark Chelgren before he was a state senator? What gives you the credibility, the experience to connect with Iowans in the Southeast District?
There's a song that I really enjoy, which is, how can I be old and wise if I've never been young and crazy? I was a guy who grew up. So when I was 3, my mom left and took my sister with her. Apparently, I was 3. I don't remember this, but I was told that apparently I cried, I want my daddy, and so she dropped me off with him. And so I was raised by a single father. He was a carpenter, and we were not in very good financial shape for most of that time. So my father basically said, if you want anything beyond just the basic food, you have to go out and earn it. So I remember at ages of 8, 9, 10 years old, mowing lawns and washing windows and cleaning things that I needed to do. Whatever it took for me, I would do that in order to earn extra money so I could get whatever I wanted. I grew up in a relatively affluent neighborhood, but I was the poor kid on the block. And I worked really hard. My grandparents ran condominiums in Hawaii, and they volunteered when I was 10 years old for me to go live with them for a while. And my job was to go out there and paint the condos and clean them and clean the glass and whatever it took for maintenance and repairs and lawn work. I would do that stuff when I was out there. And then when I got done with my work, I was very fortunate. I got to go swim in the ocean and play and have a good time, and I had a great childhood. But everything I ever got to do that was fun, I felt I had to earn. I had to go out and work first. And so my family philosophy has been, you always work hard and then you play hard. And the reason for it is because you don't really deserve that party, that fun time, unless you've earned it. And I feel the same way about work. I feel the same way about politics. There's a lot of hard things that need to be done in politics, and we can't shy away simply saying, well, it's too difficult for us to get accomplished. Nothing is too difficult to accomplish if you actually do it. So, that gives you a little bit of history of growing up. I went to school to be a restaurant manager. So my first degree was in restaurant management, and I didn't feel challenged. I decided to go back to school and study astrophysics and geophysics. My goal was to go to work for NASA. I wanted to change the world as a scientist and come up with developments and inventions that would change the world. And in the process of doing that, I did 2 things. I went to a party in Iowa on my bicycle. I was invited to go to RAGBRAI. I rode my bicycle from San Diego to Iowa, had a great time, met a bunch of great people, including this wonderful woman who was born and raised in Ottumwa, Iowa, who I married, and that's why I am a proud resident of Ottumwa, Iowa. But I also met a bunch of guys in wheelchairs, and I started asking questions about the biggest challenges they have about being disabled. And my life took a diversion. As opposed to trying to finish up school and going to work for NASA, I decided I was going to start making parts for people with disabilities. And I've done that now for 18 years, and I've been truly blessed and truly fortunate that I've changed for the better the lives of a bunch of great people. And so 5 years or 6 years ago now, I guess it was, I decided that no matter what I accomplish in my personal arena, if I don't make a difference at my state and the federal level, I may not leave that legacy for my kids after all.
I'm looking at a photo of you that we have online for our viewers who watch the show live at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays on webcast1live.com. You're wearing a colorful jacket, and I'm now seeing your colorful jacket is just a symbol for the very colorful life that you have led that gives you such wonderful experiences to be dealing with people on a variety of levels. Because I think one thing, when people get to D.C., they forget what we live like back in the States outside that cement parameter of D.C.
Yeah.
I'm going to list several issues. You take the ones you want to talk about. It's 29:14 after the hour. We have to go to break at 32 after the hour. And so gun control, school shootings, the defunding Planned Parenthood and abortion, marriage. Those are some of the hot topics right now.
So let me start off with the gun control issues. First of all, the Second Amendment is there as an enforcement clause. It makes sure that every other right that we have in the Bill of Rights is enforced. Nothing that I will do will diminish any of the rights of citizens to keep and bear arms. It is not a question about whether or not you can hunt. It's not a question of whether or not it's a sport. It's a question of whether you can defend your private property and whether or not you can defend your country. So I will not do anything, obviously, on the Second Amendment that would infringe upon that. The next question you had about was school shootings. I have already submitted a bill as a state senator that would allow anyone with a carry permit, any teacher, any administrator, anyone who works with our schools to carry on campus, because I think it's the right thing to do. We should not have gun-free zones. Gun-free zones are simply an invitation for evil people to do evil work. I want our teachers. By the way, if I trust a teacher to teach my child, that's the most valuable thing that I have. If they are qualified to teach that child and influence that child, then they're qualified to protect and defend that child. The next issue I think you had on there was refresh my memory. I'm sorry.
I didn't write them down, but I think I went to Planned Parenthood, defunding Planned Parenthood and abortion.
Great. Well, Planned Parenthood is an evil organization. Any organization that would take children and chop them up for parts in order to sell for additional profitability is a problem. Any organization that would accept taxpayer dollars only to turn around and regurgitate that into donations to candidates clearly is not in the best interest of this country. I don't care what type of company you are, profit or nonprofit. If you're taking government dollars only to then lobby for more money, that's wrong. And Planned Parenthood does both of those things. My personal feeling about Planned Parenthood is we have women's health centers throughout this country and throughout the state that are much better prepared to truly help the needs of women and men who have health concerns, and Planned Parenthood is not among those that really desires to help those people. I believe their desire is for profit and at the expense of our society, and so therefore I would absolutely defund them. The next question I think you had on your list was
marriage, and we've got 20 seconds left.
Well, I am proudly married to my wife, Janet. I think marriage should always have been defined by the church and only by the church, and the only thing that the government should have ever entered into is the definition of what a contract should be in order to pass private property and wealth.
Agree or disagree, listeners? Get in contact, make your questions known, talk to Mark Chelgren, 2nd District, Southeast Iowa. We'll be right back after these messages with more Truth for Our Time and Janet Huckabee.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
if you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
Welcome back to Truth for Our Time with your host, Tamara Scott.
And I am Tamara Scott. Thank you so much for staying with us on Truth for Our Time. If you want to learn more about the show, you can always go to tamarascott.com, where we will have links of these shows available for you. I think we have several archives there. We don't have all of them. Goodness, Ryan, I don't know. We have quite a library if we wanted to try and update that and get them all on the website. And if there's ever a topic that you want more information on, you can get on our Facebook page, Truth for Our Time Facebook page, or you can contact us through... is it info@tamarascott.com? info@tamarascott.com. And we will try and get that information to you. Of course, we were one of the great voices on stopping Common Core. And so we have a lot of shows on that topic. We've done shows on Sharia law and the dangers there with Dr. Stephen Kirby. Just here's the deal. Like I said, if God expects you to live through it, He's directed you how to do it. And so we have everything. When the holidays get here, we'll be talking about family relationships, because we all want that perfect Christmas. But here's the deal. You will not have that perfect Christmas day unless you've worked at family and relationships the other 364 days out of the year. Now, there's always a great time to start something new and to have a new beginning, but you need to be working on it now. And so we'll just talk about everything, because that is life, is everything, and dealing with it as a Christian and as we should. This morning, Psalms 86 was reading that, and I'm just going to read a small portion to you. 11 through 13, verse 11 through 13. And those of you who are waiting for Janet Huckabee, don't panic. She's in a delay right now, so I'm not holding you up from Janet Huckabee. She'll be coming on shortly, but I'm just going to read this to you. Psalm 86, 11 through 13. Teach me your way, Lord, that I may rely on your faithfulness. Give me an undivided heart, that I may fear your name. I will praise you, Lord my God, with all my heart. I will glorify your name forever. For great is your love toward me. You have delivered me from the depths and the realm of death. Just a great reminder. I don't know what you're facing out there today. Maybe you're driving along in the car. Maybe you're listening online live. Maybe you're listening on live 3 weeks later. If you heard those words and they ministered to you, understand that God knew that. God knew that that would be the time that you would hear it. And He planned it specifically for you. There's always a way out. There is always a plan. A couple other things. We talked about the Iran deal briefly with Mark Chelgren. You've heard me talk about it. We've had several guests come on and talk about the dangers of it. Is it too late to stop it? Well, as Mark was saying, we always must do the right thing. We must always work to do the right thing. And I would tell you there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. I think we should continue to work against it and stop it however we can. CUFI, Christians United for Israel, has started a 501c4. Gary Bauer is heading up that leg, that organization, that part of the CUFI, Christians United for Israel group. He will be coming to Iowa November 20th. That's a Friday evening, November 20th. The family leader has their presidential forum that night. But before that happens, from 4 to 6 p.m., we will have a meeting on Israel, understanding the Iran deal, the Middle East, why Israel is not only our friend, but the stability in that region, and why we need to continue to bless Israel as a country. But even if you're not there biblically, why economically, militarily, and otherwise, why we need to protect Israel. It is, like I said, the stability. They do keep us at peace by what they do in the Middle East. And I've told you at the time I was over there and spoke with, I think it was a Palestinian reporter, and I thought going into the conversation, I'm probably not going to appreciate what this man has to say. We'll probably not agree. And I was amazed at how much we did agree. And he said, I would feel more safe here in my country than going to your country of America and speaking about Israel on a college campus. There's much more hostility towards Israel, the Jews, and Christianity in America on your campuses than there is right here in Israel. And he said, when I write a headline that says Israel's done something wrong, I can't get newspapers to cover it. But when I write, I can get all kinds of coverage. It spreads like wildfire. But when I write a newspaper article or an article that says Palestine or one of the other countries, bordering countries, has done something in air, or soldiers have been wounded because of something they've done, I can't get anyone to cover it or publish it. There is a movement, there is a cohesive work against Planned Parenthood, against Israel. So keep that in the top of your hat. Think about that. All right, so Janet Huckabee's on deck, but we don't have her. So what else would I tell you about? Don't even have a note in front of me. But funny thing, I had a lot of articles on my phone last night. I'll just see if we can go to one of those. What else would I tell you if it was pressing right now? Okay, here in Iowa, you have the blessing of hearing the candidates. You can find out where they're at. The newspapers have activities where they are. Your parties have activities where they are. And I would suggest and highly recommend that you go and talk to them. And if you would like to help us out by protecting Israel, being one of those folks that would keep in contact and get emails from Gary Bauer and from myself on how we can continue to protect Israel and hold Republican or Democrats, either way, accountable on their issues on this, then you could contact us, and we will help you connect. CUFI there's a Facebook page, CUFI, Christians United for Israel Facebook page, and we would love to have somebody in every county who's just going to pass that information along to friends, be updated themselves and up to date on the issues, and then ask those candidates the tough questions. And you can also get a hold of me through the radio station, through TamaraScott.com, and Family Leader is helping to spur on this CUFI organization. It's a joint project between the Family Leader and Christians United for Israel. So you can certainly call and leave a message for me at the Family Leader. But that is Friday, the 20th, 4 to 6 p.m. Gary Bauer will be there, and we're working on another expert on the Iran deal to come and give you just the latest information of where we're at on that. Remember, no Americans are going to be allowed on the inspection team. Think that through. Senator Cotton flew to Vienna to try and find out what was in those side deals on the Iran deal. And he did not have any luck. But when was the last time a U.S. Senator had to fly to another country to find out what was happening in our own? Seriously. David Young, our congressman, flew over to try and find out. So we've been told we won't get that information, plus $150 billion in frozen assets will be released to what many people are calling and is known as the largest leading sponsor, state sponsor of terrorism. $150 billion. Where do you think that money's going to go? That's not the sanction money that is separate. There's so much more you need to learn on this issue. And as Senator Margaret Chelgren said, it never needs to be so cloudy and gray. It should be black and white. So come and hear that information and learn as you can. Janet Huckabee has joined us, and I know we're going to have to go to break in just a short time here, but I want to certainly open up the phone line. Janet Huckabee, thank you so much for taking time. I know you have a very busy schedule, but we're glad you could pop in for just a little bit today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, I have had the honor and the pleasure of getting to spend time with you, and as I've said to our listeners, I will not endorse anybody on this show, and anyone else who wants to come on is welcome to come on. Their spouses are welcome to come on. Be prepared, be ready for the questions that I will ask you. So, Janet Huckabee, why on earth would you allow your husband to go through this grueling process throughout the country, throughout Iowa, the early states, for what, nearly 2 years, almost 3 years, for a 4-year term?
Well, and I don't know that I allowed him to do it. I think it was a joint process and discussion for our family. But I think I have 5 good reasons, and I can just share it in one good term, and that's because we have 5 grandchildren. And we want to leave our country in better shape than we had it. And at the process of the last few years, our country is I don't think, in a great position.
Hold on, Janet. We've got to go to break. Hold on. We'll be right back.
Okay.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids? Yeah!
If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back to Truth for Our Time with your host, Tamara Scott.
And I'm here with Janet Huckabee. Janet Huckabee is the wife of Mike Huckabee. She married her high school sweetheart 1 year after they graduated from high school. Close after that time, she was faced with the possibility of paralysis when she was diagnosed with spinal cancer. And having undergone her treatments, and obviously they've had 3 children since, and this has experienced what I can tell a wonderful life. I've gotten to spend some time with Janet, and she just mentioned her 5 grandchildren, and I can tell you, when you go to a draw to see who can show you photos of their grandkids, she beat me. She beat me hands down. She had her phone out ready, and she's got those photos lined up of the darling grandbabies. So, Janet, I had to cut you off. I'm sorry. Continue your answer as to why it's so important right now that we have a strong leader, and you think your husband.
Well, Tamara, you pretty much nailed it when you said those grandbabies, and I do have 5, and that's the reason Mike and I are doing what we're doing is our 5 grandchildren. We're probably going to be okay in our lifetime, but what we turn over to our grandchildren is important, and we want to give this country to them in better shape than we had it. And growing up in the 50s and 60s was pretty good for us, and we want our country to be in great shape for our grandchildren.
Yeah, I really think that 50s, 60s was almost the charmed decades. The 60s kind of broke free there, and we then had the turmoil in the 70s and divorce rates going up. I really think the 50s and right after the World War II seemed to be the charmed life force here in America. And maybe we had our guard down because what we fought to stop in World War II, we allowed in our classrooms the following decades, and we're now dealing with that here in America. My words, not Janet's. Janet, how would it look if you were First Lady? What would you focus on? What would it look like to have a Janet Huckabee in the White House?
Well, I think I of course would like to reserve the right to make that decision. When I became First Lady, because part of that is finding what your husband is doing, what the country, what's going on in the country. Maybe focusing on what they need at the time, but if I had to decide right this moment, I wouldn't rule out possibly Alzheimer's. I think there's a very definite need to focus on that. My mother died a year ago this July from Alzheimer's, and So that's very close to my heart. I think if we really focused as a country on that disease, we probably could find a cure and eliminate that, because America is a smart country. And just like polio, I mean, you know, we eliminated that disease. I can remember standing 3 Sundays in a row at the Armory in Hope, Arkansas, taking my vaccine in a sugar cube to eliminate that disease. And I think we could find a cure if we really wanted to for Alzheimer's and probably cancer and diabetes if we wanted to, and just said, hey, you know, let's do it. And we could do it if we put our minds to it and really focused on it and focused on research. And I think we need to do something like that. But, you know, that's not the only thing. I might look at something like, affordable housing. I've worked very hard and long with Habitat for Humanity trying to find affordable housing for those in need. And so that might be something, too, I would look at. So there's, many things I could do. I just want to wait and see where the country is, what they need, what my husband is focused on. Anything could happen in, the next couple of years that might need attention. I'm always very, very pro-military and what the military families need and our veterans, so that might, too, be a possible, need for me to look at. So I don't know.
And so you're showing wisdom right there in reserving your answer a little bit, because you're absolutely right. We never know exactly what we're going to face. We never saw 2011. At least I didn't. Some people say that we should have seen signs, but most of America didn't see 2011 coming. And thank heavens we had a George W. Bush, who I think did handle it okay at the time. When he was in front of that classroom, I think he handled himself incredibly well. So, Janet, I don't want to just hit you with the political questions. I want to come back and talk to you about being a mama and being in America and what's important to our families here in America, just because of the wisdom that you have. But I am going to ask you one question, because Common Core has plagued the governor. People, felt like he was supporting Common Core in the beginning. And I have heard him since speak, saying that he just says wipe out the Department of Education. To me, that is a pretty clear vindication, if you will. Do you want to add anything? I have to do that because we are such a Common Core audience here in this, our listeners. So I just want to give you a chance to talk to them and clarify any questions they may have on that issue.
Okay. Are we coming back or doing it now?
No, you go ahead and do it right now, and then we'll.
Okay, Let's just throw Common Core out the window. If you're a Common Core audience, just totally throw that out the window. I think you probably could throw the Department of Education out the window too. Best case scenario, if you had to keep a small part of it, you might use it as a clearinghouse for best practices. What works in Texas may not work in Iowa. What works in Iowa probably not going to work in Florida. But you might use a clearinghouse, a small place to say, hey, I have a problem with, 4th grade reading. What works in places? You could use a place to say, Alaska does this and it's working really well. Maybe, New Mexico could do that.
But a clearinghouse and a guide is a far different thing than a governing.
Absolutely. But,
and so,
the Constitution doesn't say anything about the Department of Education, best I can tell.
So forgive me for asking you that out of the blue, but with my audience, I must. And
well, and I know that Mike would say the same thing. And let me just say something, when you mentioned George Bush wasn't going to be hit with the 9/11, I think that's a very, very important thing for your audience to know. To elect the President of the United States, you really don't, you could Google anything you want to know about a president or a person running for president, anything. You can just about find out anything that they know or have done. What you really elect a president of the United States for is what they don't know, because what they don't know is going to happen on their watch, much like a 9/11. And until you research what they're made of and the decisions they have made in their life, that's when you find out what they're made of. And when you squeeze a person that's president of the United States, what comes out is really going to shine when they're hit with a 9/11 or they're hit with a Hurricane Katrina or they're hit with a war in Israel. And until a person has been tested, you never know what they're going to do And Mike Huckabee has been tested on many fronts. He's been tested with a Hurricane Katrina. He's been tested with a shooting in a school. He's been tested with a state that was hit with an ice storm. He's been tested with a lot of different things. And some of these people that say they want to be, the President of the United States, they haven't been tested. And you don't know how they're going to respond. And so really you elect a President of the United States because of what they don't know. And what they don't know that happens on their watch, that's the critical moment. That's when they become the president.
And that is why I was so delighted when they called and asked if you could come on the show. You have wisdom. You just have wisdom that many others yet have to gain. So this is not an endorsement. Folks, if you want your candidate, their spouse, to come on the show, call me. We'll make it happen. But Janet Huckabee, I appreciate her friendship. I appreciate who she is. And Janet, I hope you'll come back another time. We can talk about...
I'll do it anytime. Thank you.
We'll talk about the mama stuff, the grandma stuff, the things that make the world go round. We've got to go. We are out of time. You've been given information. Be encouraged, never complacent.